This meeting will now come to order. Welcome, everyone, to the March 26, 2026 meeting of the Raleigh Historic Development Commission's Certificate of Appropriateness Committee. My name is Lauren Woodard, and I'm the chair of this committee. At this time, I'll ask staff to call our roll.
Melissa Todd.
Here.
Rob Allen.
Here.
Lauren Woodard.
Here.
Jordan Ryland.
Here.
John Scheimer.
Here.
We have the presence of a quorum, so our meeting may proceed. Prior to the beginning of the meeting, I'll ask that if you plan to speak this evening, that you sign our attendance roster, and we'll also swear you in before you speak when you come to the podium. The Certificate of Appropriateness Committee is a quasi-judicial body that's governed by the North Carolina General Statutes and the city's Unified Development Ordinance. We're authorized to hear requests for certificates of appropriateness within the historic overlay districts and Raleigh historic landmark properties. At this time, I'll have my fellow commissioners introduce themselves, and we'll begin with my far right with Commissioner Todd and work this way.
Hi, my name is Melissa Todd. I'm a licensed architect, and I also live in a historic overlay district.
Hi, I'm Rob Allen. I'm a lifelong Raleigh resident. I'm also a resident of a historic overlay district, and I'm also a licensed architect.
I'm Lauren Woodard. I'm also a registered architect here in Raleigh, and I've lived in the city for 15 years.
I'm Jordan Ryland. I'm a local architect, Raleigh resident of 15 years.
John Scheimer, licensed contractor, builder, commercial, residential, and Raleigh resident for 15 years as well.
Thank you very much. I'd like to call on our staff to introduce themselves.
Good evening. I am Erin Morton Pugh. I'm one of the senior preservation planners here for the city. I've been here 6 years, and I have a master's in historic preservation.
Hello, everyone. I'm Colette Kinane. I have been with the City of Raleigh for 8 years now, and I also have a master's of historic preservation.
Thank you. I'd also like to recognize our attorney.
I'm Pat Jones, counsel to the committee.
All right, and with that, we can begin. Our first order of business is approval of today's agenda as posted. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Seconded.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hearing no objections, the motion carries unanimously. Next is the minutes. For last month's minutes, staff reports both were made available online. And looking at the minutes from February 26, 2026, Certificate of Appropriateness Committee, motion to adopt the minutes.
Seconded.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Would staff please report out on any minor work applications for this month?
Yes, in the last month, there were 15 minor works approved. Addresses, application numbers, and project descriptions can be found on the meeting agenda, and the applications themselves can be viewed on the city's website.
All right, thank you very much. All right, I'm going to do this long preamble, but I'm a little allergy, so if I have to pause, please forgive me. Before we begin the evidentiary hearing, we'll outline the process of the quasi-judicial decisions. In hearing cases, the committee conducts a quasi-judicial evidentiary hearing. That means it's like a court hearing. State law sets specific procedures and rules concerning how this committee must make its decisions. These rules are different from some other types of land use decisions like rezoning cases, which are legislative in nature. This committee's decisions are constrained by the standard of review set forth in state law and the UDO and the facts presented at the hearing. The committee hears and considers evidence presented at the hearing and applies the standards set forth in state law and the city ordinance. The committee must base its decisions upon competent, material, and substantial evidence presented at the hearing. If you'll be speaking as a witness, please focus on the facts and legal standard, avoiding personal preference or opinion. This meeting is open to the public. Participation, however, is limited. Everyone is welcome to watch. Parties have rights to participate fully. Parties may present evidence, call witnesses, and make legal arguments. If you are not a party, you are limited to providing factual testimony only. You may not appear and speak on behalf of anyone else, including a nonprofit, unless you are an attorney. Witnesses may testify as to facts to which they are competent to testify, so long as those facts relate to legal standard. In addition, lay or non-expert witness testimony is limited to facts, not opinions. For certain topics, this committee needs to hear opinion testimony from expert witnesses. These topics include projections about impacts on property values and traffic safety. We will now begin the evidentiary hearing. We'll begin with case number COA 0152-2025, 200 Newbern Place. I'll welcome staff for their presentation. Ooh, let me throw you in.
Yes, sorry.
No worries.
We do not have the mouse today. So.
All good. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
I do as well.
Thanks so much.
So as you just mentioned, the first case this evening is COA 0152-2025 for 200 New Bern Place. It is in the Capitol Square Historic District. You can see on the map here, it's a corner property, corner of South Blunt and New Bern Place. The nature of the request is to construct a rear brick and wood fence and replace the driveway. Walking around the site, this is a view of the property from New Bern Place. And again, just the east side. This is a view along South Blunt Street, and we're going to continue to travel along South Blunt, looking at the property. This begins the area where the work is proposed to occur. View is standing at the end of the existing driveway, looking down that driveway area. And again, another view of that corner and a better view from across Blunt Street. This is a view from the adjacent property from their parking lot looking onto the east side of the rear yard. And again, a view of that corner. Part of the existing railing is proposed to be altered in this area. A very abbreviated summary of staff concerns are materials and details that are typically provided as conditions. You may notice that a new potential condition was added to the staff report to reflect some of the concerns that the neighbor addressed at the previous meeting regarding the existing retaining wall, which is something that the applicant did say that they were amenable to conducting during the construction. And the applicant does have a presentation, and I believe they are all here and ready.
All right, thank you so much. I'll now call on the applicant for their presentation and any additional information. Yes, if you do plan to speak and provide testimony, we can go ahead and swear you in all at once.
You want us to state our names?
Yes, please state your name, address, and relationship to the case, please.
Worth Mills with Longleaf Law Partners, 4509 Creedmoor Road, Raleigh 27612. I'm the attorney representing the applicant.
Yes, please. Thank you.
I'm Chris Norville. I'm with 200 New Bern Place, LLC, and I'm, I guess, representing ourselves in terms of what we're hoping to do. Thank you.
Andrew Warnke, 3419 Lewis Farm Road, Raleigh, North Carolina. We're the structural engineer.
Craig Dean with CD Architecture, the architect engaged by the owner, and it's 3809 Barrel Road is the company address.
All right, thank you very much. If you'll raise your right hands, please. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? All right, thank you very much. Please proceed with your presentation.
Good afternoon, committee members. As I stated, Worth Mills here on behalf of the applicant. We've got our full team behind us today for any questions, any feedback. And before we begin, I did want to apologize for not having anybody present at the January hearing. That was an oversight on our part, but we appreciate your patience, neighbors' patience, and staff's patience leading up to today. So again, just to summarize what the request is, to install a 6-foot tall fence and trash enclosure along the side yards and rear yards at the John A. Williams house at 200 New Bern Place. The primary reason for constructing this fence is for increased privacy and security, but because the home is empty a fair amount of time, the owners have seen people using this back porch as a place to hang out or sleep. There have been instances where owners or guests have arrived to find people or sleeping bags just sort of laying out on the back porch. We think that's creating a sort of an unsafe condition for both the people who are staying there and then the people who are actually authorized guests of the property. The gated fence should close off that backyard area and prevent some of those unauthorized guests from sleeping or hanging out on the back porch. And the gate also includes an area for trash bins and cans, which will make orderly trash collection and prevent litter from, or prevent the litter that neighbors have seen in the past. We think that the high-quality fence design and the materials selected, which Mr. Dean will cover shortly, are congruous both with the existing Williams House and with the overall character of the Capitol Square Historic District. So I won't belabor some of these slides because Colette covered them fairly well, but here's a view from Blunt Street. Driveway access is off of Blunt Street. The blue line represents the proposed fence area, as you see it from Blunt Street. There is a small tree in that rear yard that would likely need to be removed for fence installation. And then here's a view from the rear facade and the back porch, small backyard behind the porch to the retaining wall. The backyard itself does sit on a brick retaining wall that is on our neighbor's property. You can also see the current trash collection along the back porch, and again, that's a key item that we want to address with this proposed work. And then again, a look at the side yard. This is intended to enclose that backyard area. Here's a look from Blunt Street on Google Street View, showing the Williams House as well as the Horton Beckham Brecht House, which is a contributing structure at 11 South Blunt Street. The Horton Beckham Brecht House was moved to its original location from North McDowell in 1982 to preserve it from demolition. The Gaylor Family Law Litigation Clinic, which is associated with Campbell Law, operates out of that building. You can also see the parallel parking spaces on the east side of Blunt Street, which is closest to our properties, as well as the mature trees that line the block. Here's another look from Blunt Street, good view of the driveway and the backyard area. Both our property and the neighbor's property have access via Blunt Street. And again, you can see the current trash collection sort of setup that we have, which is not ideal today. And then the last slide from Blunt Street moving south towards the Morgan Street intersection, a better look at that retaining wall with the black metal railing that runs along it. Here's a map of the Capitol Square Historic District with a red star over 200 New Bern Place. This historic designation was put forward in 1976. The district's form is largely defined by its relationship to the Christmas plan, the one exception being the sort of dead-end cul-de-sac that is New Bern Place. The rest of the street network operates in that Christmas grid pattern. And the eastern part of the district also sort of departs from the more institutional nature of the historic district and transitions to a more residential feel with more residential uses. Our team identified sort of 3 examples that we used in sort of determining building materials, design of this proposed fence. I will note that 1 and 3 on this slide are from the same development, but are facing different rights of way, one along New Bern Place and then one along Person Street. I'm going to turn it over to Craig Dean to go over these examples and then talk a little bit more about the proposed fence at 200 New Bern Place.
Thank you, Worth. As a way of introduction, I'm Craig Dean. I'm a licensed architect in North Carolina and South Carolina. I practiced since 1992 or so, and during that time have worked on projects including coordination with SHPO on the Chuang County Courthouse renovation. I've permitted well over 100 projects in the city of Raleigh. I've provided tax credit drawings to the Raleigh Times building and the Highland Levine building with Empire Properties. I've worked with Hedgehog Holdings at Pilot Mill and including coordination with staff on some door and window changes there. I'm proud to say that we've been part of some great adaptive reuse projects, including the Craig Building on Wilmington Street, which serves as the entrance to the Moore Square Transit Station prior to its most recent renovation. and that's in the Moore Square district. We've also worked on some projects that I consider near and dear to Raleigh, including it's outside the district, but kind of helping preserve the old IHOP building on Hillsborough Street and transition that to an alpaca restaurant. And the unbuilt project in the Oberlin Village District, which included fence approval with staff on the renovation or the conversion of what was to be the community groceries Next Life. And in addition to this work we're seeing today, we've had a prior COA minor approval for paint colors on this property in 2025. Personally, I've only lived in houses, except for about 2 years of my life, that are at least as old as I am, and including residences in Boylan Heights and Forest Park and the Cameron Park Historic District, and then outside the district in Westover in a 1943 home and a mid-century house in Laurel Hills, where I currently live. So we hold the work of this committee near and dear, and I do apologize for I was part of the misstep in communication back to Ms. Canane on confirming attendance last week. I apologize to neighbors, staff, and the committee. But you know, when we started this project, the first thing we did was go through the district and look at examples of, as Worth pointed out, we're trying to meet security, functionality, and privacy. So within the district, we found Newbern Place condominiums had two different conditions, one on Newbern Place and one on the major thoroughfare at the main street there. So both of those are tall fences, which do give that privacy, obviously very substantial brick construction. The pillars there offered some insight to how we could gracefully apply, instead of just building a straight wooden fence, have a nice rhythm and flow and tie back to the brick construction on the house itself. Going around the corner, we have Haywood Hall. It's a vertical wood. It's got more spacing than what we're showing on our fence, but it is a painted wood fence. In the staff report, I know we're missing call out of finished material, and I believe it's intended to be painted just like the recent paint job on the house, same colors. This is the plan view of the proposed fence. As you see, there's little 8x8 kind of trash bins, so we're providing screening. The Raleigh UDO asked for screening of trash receptacles. We have a gate that's approximately 30 feet from the curb line on Blunt Street. The face of the little jut out there for the bins is approximately 20 feet and raised up, several feet above the level of the street itself. And the rest of it's just kind of enclosed in the rear yard. I do have one note on the back fence calling for lattice, and that lattice is not there. It's on the side, the two sides. So that's an oversight there. We're showing a brick, new concrete driveway to improve the condition of the existing, and trying to drop in a brick inset there to have a bit of ornament on the drive. There's some really great lattice details on the existing porch, and they are definitely an inspiration for what we're trying to do. It's a corner lot. This is side yard from Blunt Street elevation, so we're trying to provide some openness there and kind of riff on those great lattice details existing on the porch. And there's a pair of gates there that is basically an 11-foot 2 opening, I believe, so they'd swing out 5.5 feet or so towards Blunt Street, leaving plenty of room for a car to come through the gate and then stop and close it before entering the street. This is the rear fence. We have a pattern of brick pillars and and wood post with infill panels between each with vertical wood material. This is kind of a unique condition in the district in that the adjacent property has this retaining wall, which is, 3'4" or so in height. So our proposed fence would be on top of that. So we're 6 feet or so in the on our side of the property, but it does present right at the edge. I know there's been some concern about the footings and how they might impact this existing wall. From early stages in the process, we've had Andy Warnke as our structural engineer we work with a ton. He's here tonight as a witness. And so while this isn't a technical, this is a compliance submittal, we have communicated our intent to have a technical solution that does not impact this existing brick retaining wall. Once again, turning the corner to the other side yard, we have more of a pillar at the corner, then some wood posts with the infill panels, and then more continuation to secure the porch area itself with the lattice material. And finally, kind of a 3D take on this, showing more context in all dimensions of the items I've just talked about. So you can see the slight rise of the slope of the driveway, the gate recess there, the jut out for the trash bins, and the fence on top of the existing retaining wall. And that is... It's sitting on our on the subject property above the retaining wall. It is not actually on top, built on top of the wall. That is correct. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Worth.
Thank you, Craig. And I will go briefly through the guideline consistency and the standards that were identified in the staff report. First, for section 131, retain and preserve landscape features that contribute to the overall character of the district. To that, we would say that Mr. Dean has designed a fence that is inspired by the neighboring properties and those within the Capitol Square Historic District and has used similar high-quality materials in this design. Section 1.32, retain and preserve the historic relationship between buildings and the historic landscape features of the district. The special character essay of the Capitol Square District states that the cul-de-sac of New Bern Place is flanked with both landscaped areas and brick walls. Additionally, several churches in this district have a combination of metal, brick, or mixed material fences that enclose their churchyards, including First Baptist Church, Christ Church, and First Presbyterian Church. So there is a history of homes and buildings within the district fencing off portions of their properties, and this project would build off of that and build off of the existing landscape features within the district. Section 137 is to design new construction or additions such that large trees and other significant site features such as vistas and views are preserved. To that end, I did mention the small tree that would likely need to be removed in the rear yard. That is not necessarily a street tree, but one that has grown up over the years in our backyard. It does not really contribute to the district itself. I did also want to mention the proposed fence would undoubtedly be taller and more opaque than the current black railing on the retaining wall today. But this fence would not materially impair the most important vistas to the Horton Beckham Bretsch house. From the Raleigh Historic website, the crowning feature of that house is its front porch with East Lake style detail that extends the width of the facade. That architectural detail is best seen either directly across Blunt Street or at the East Morgan Street intersection. That's where most of the architectural detail is. That's where the Campbell Law Clinic signage is, so not impairing anything with regard to the operations there. The views traveling down Blunt Street are already slightly impaired given the parallel parking spaces on the east side of Blunt Street, as well as that mature streetscape. So we think in terms of section 137, we are compliant there as well. And then finally, 139, introducing compatible new site features that are constructed of traditional materials only in locations and configurations that are characteristic of the historic district. I think Mr. Dean went through in terms of the examples and the materials that they plan to use to show that we meet that standard. Turning to section 1.4, the fences and walls section, 148 introduced compatible new fences and walls constructed of traditional materials only in locations that are characteristic of the district. Again, sort of similar response based on the examples that we've shown. Mr. Dean has drawn inspiration from those as well. And then section 1411, it is not appropriate to introduce visually opaque walls or fences taller than 42 inches or that are more than 65% solid into the front yard area or side street yard area unless historic evidence exists. And to that, we would point to the sort of two examples that were shown. Both of those fences or brick walls were greater than 42 inches in height and had more than 65% opacity. So we think just given the sort of context within the Capitol Square Historic District, there is, evidence and precedent for the fence that we are proposing. And then section 1.5, 1.51, walkways, driveways, and off-street parking. For these, I would just say that the improvements to the driveway are very minor. They extend from the sidewalk to the edge of that new fence. And I would also note that the applicant is keeping the existing stone wall that runs along the property's Blunt Street frontage. That concludes our presentation. Again, apologies for the January meeting, but happy to receive your questions, comments, and feedback today. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you very much. Any questions from our commission? We could do public comment first. Typically, we do commission first. You're good.
Thanks for the presentation. Just a couple of quick comments. So how many trees would be proposed to be removed?
There's that one in the middle that I think, I know Worth mentioned it. I'm not sure if it's a crepe myrtle or what it is. It's like kind of like right there in the center. And that's the only one that I think actually impedes where the fence would go. Now, I've met with our existing neighbor out there, and there's actually another tree in the corner that probably wouldn't necessarily have to be removed, but to the extent, I know there's some concern about the integrity of the wall that exists. I don't know if it's the tree or not, but there's something going on there where there seems to be an existing condition with the wall that should probably be evaluated in general. So while I don't think it's necessary for the fence to be constructed, I think it would be worthy of consideration. We share the neighbors' concern over the wall, because if that wall wasn't there, we wouldn't have, our yard would be in their driveway. So,
Yeah.
but those are the only two that I know of. But I think only one is in the way of the fence.
Yeah, they're definitely not specimen trees. They're more grown up over the years.
Does
Okay.
that answer the question?
Yeah, it does. And then I understand the retaining wall is not yours to maintain, but you've offered to, monitor it and try to protect it. I'm assuming the intent right now is that black guardrail would stay as well. Like, you're not proposing to touch that wall at all, correct?
To a large degree, and I didn't really give my, you guys obviously are well versed with historic properties. I mean, I've grown up, my youngest house I think I've ever lived in is 1940. Our house in Wilmington's in 1830. So I've been in historic districts. I mean, we understand, that appearance and all of these things are very important. To me, the rail would be somewhat redundant, and I would defer to our neighbor and you guys as to whether or not you felt would it be better to remove it just from an aesthetic standpoint. Aesthetics are very important to what we're trying to achieve. And I think we've offered to actually do that at our cost if that's of interest, or if everybody wants it to stay, that's fine too. But
Okay.
There are emails going, I think, from last September stating that maybe everybody wants that black rail removed, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever works best there.
Okay.
We're open to what your suggestions are.
Okay. And questions for staff. This is considered a rear yard, correct?
Correct.
it's a little bit of a unique condition because it kind of feels like it's also facing another surface parking area, but that's not really a street. But
That's correct, yes. I think if it helps to visualize it, we would regard the area of the yard that is forward of the wall of the house along Blunt to be like another front yard. And then beyond that wall, that would essentially be the rear yard.
Got it. Okay. And then regarding these couple of, they're small, they're not, there's some really large trees on this site, but not being impacted. But the ones that they're talking about impacting are admittedly smaller.
Yeah. Yes, I did note it in the staff report. I
Okay.
referred to them as volunteer shrubs.
Yeah. Okay.
I think one, it looks like from past street view, it's a mimosa, which is pretty fast growing. And they only appear a couple of years ago if you look back. So
Okay. Got
they
it.
definitely appear to be volunteer.
Okay.
I think that's
Thank
the
you.
best photo we have to
Yeah.
show that here.
Yeah.
If we need another photo,
That's okay. I visited the site, and it's clear that a few of those trees, they're not substantial, but they are very close to that retaining wall. But they could definitely be volunteer. Okay. I don't have any other questions.
Is your intent with the brick of the new fence/wall to match as closely as you can the brick of the existing house, or are you going to go with some other color, or
We would absolutely do match it as whatever the best available brick is to match with the house. We want it to look like it was with the house originally. So and going a little further beyond the brick, the wood that we would use, we absolutely want to use top quality wood, especially on the gate that we're proposing. We don't want the gate to 5 years from now be bending, and we've worked with a couple of different contractors in town, Williams Realty and Building Company, and they've actually showed us some of the wood that they've used in their own personal properties, and they've got a gate that's been there for like 50 years. So we definitely want to use the highest quality materials possible to maintain the long-term integrity of the property.
And to add a little bit to that, there's the brick on the
And Mr. Dean, if you don't mind, would you mind speaking into the microphone just so we capture it?
There's
Thank you.
the original brick that was applied to the house. And then the porch back there has a different brick, a more modern brick, which it attempted to sync up with the house. So we're going to do as best as we can to match those conditions.
Okay. And I guess another question is the Blunt Street facing portion of the fence has a sort of solid for 42 inches and then semi-solid or latticed at the top for the rest of it. And I guess that's in compliance with one of the guidelines about the side yard fence. But I'm wondering if you had considered continuing that along the south side of the fence as well.
So in terms of
So that sort of right side of the fence
so
here.
matching this
Right.
with sort of this.
Yeah.
I'll jump in here. I do think that since the additional wall underneath creates a total opacity of well over 6 feet, it would be, I think, a nice gesture towards offering a little bit of relief at the top there, so you don't have a full 9 feet of opacity.
Yeah, I'll speak to it. I mean, generally, guys, we're here to hear what you have to say and what your suggestions are, and do what we can to adhere to them. So that's something we could look at. It's probably it's already not an inexpensive project given the cost of the wood and the bricks that we're talking about using. But I mean, look, we're trying to do something that you guys are and the city can be proud of. So
It's just It was just a question. Thank you.
Any other questions from the committee? All right. With that, we'll now hear from any individuals wishing to provide factual testimony from the public. Hello.
Good afternoon.
Hello. If you'd please state your name, address.
Yes, my name is Richard Bolton. I'm an attorney with Ragsdale Liggett, 2840 Plaza Place, Suite 400, 27612 here in Raleigh.
Okay.
I represent Bretsch LLC, who owns the house behind this subject house. And
Before you begin, I'll swear you in. So you're an attorney. Yeah, we actually don't have to if you're an attorney. That's great.
Okay. Well, most of the testimony is going to come from Tony Sigmund. He is the manager of Bretsch LLC.
Okay.
So we obviously disagree with several of these things. The view.
Chair Woodard, if I may, just for clarification, you said most of the testimony. Do you mean all of the testimony?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. In that case, I will need to swear in
Swear in the witness.
witness.
Yes.
Yes. All right. Thank you. Sir, if you please state your name, address, in relationship to the case.
Tony Sigmund, 214 Newbern Place, Raleigh, North Carolina. And an LLC owns Bretsch, and I am the managing member of that LLC.
All right. If you'll please raise your right hand, I'll swear you in. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right. Thank you so much. Please proceed.
There's an LLC that owns the Montgomery House, and I own that with my children. The LLC.
Sir, you might want to move the mic a little closer to you just so we can get it.
Let me start with this diagram. I ask your patience on the handouts that I've given you. I'd really like, there's a story here, and I'd like for you to just listen to me and walk through those and look at them as I bring them up. The first thing I'd like to show you is, and this is the notes that I'm going to be talking from, but the first attachment I want to show you is the one that's labeled number 1. This was pulled out of the COA, and I think it's important for you to understand some of the history of this little quadrant of the world here. The Bretsch House was moved here from another location. The Montgomery House was moved here from another location. The White-Holman House used to face East Morgan and abutted to it. They turned it around and moved it back onto Newbern Place. So there were 2 houses in Raleigh, is my understanding, that needed a home, and that turned out to be the Bretsch House and the Montgomery House, and so they moved them here. There's one more house in this quadrant, that's Haywood Hall. And both the White-Holman House and the Montgomery House, where we have our investment advisory business, have plantings in the back. That's our blockage. So, and one other piece that's maybe not completely pertinent with this, but I think you ought to understand it. There's 2 blocks of Newbern Place. There's the block where the credit union is, the 100 block. There's the 200 block where we're at. For 20 years, we have been told that the DOT controls the 200 block. We finally convinced the city that they controlled the 200 block. So we never got any maintenance. Nothing was ever mowed. There's actually a little small park adjacent to the Montgomery House that actually has a name, Newbern Place Park. And so that area has been ignored for a long time. So just a little history lesson there. There's 4 things wrong with this house, with this fence. First of all, it's not a fence, it's a wall. it doesn't satisfy the rules that that the commission has in place. It doesn't satisfy the UDO. This whole fence is incongruous with the neighborhood. There's safety issues involved here, and I'm going to give you the details on these. And of course, the integrity of the retaining wall. That retaining wall is no less governed by the commission's guidelines than a proposed fence. And neither is the railing on top of the wall. The location where the Bresh House is now, it used to be a service station. And there's 2 underground tanks that have been filled with sand adjacent to that retaining wall. So with that history, I wanted to also make clear that these are absentee owners of this property. It doesn't get the attention that it deserves. Preservation North Carolina has a preservation easement on this home. They stand in my shoes. I've attached a letter from Benjamin Briggs, who's the president of the PNC, voicing his support for what we're doing, also voicing his concerns in his letter. A portion of this fence that faces Blunt Street does not meet the commission's guidelines. It just doesn't, period. It's not 42 inches high. The opacity is greater than 65%. If this fence were approved, then I would have to ask myself why I couldn't build a 6-foot fence behind the Montgomery house, and why the owners of the White Holman house couldn't build a 6-foot fence behind it, and why I couldn't build a 6-foot fence behind the Bresh house. The portion of the fence that faces Blunt Street does not satisfy UDO requirements. It has to be set back 15 feet from the right-of-way. And even then, there has to be plantings in front of the fence. It also does not satisfy the UDO guidelines, because if a fence is within 42 feet of the right-of-way, 40 feet of the right-of-way, there has to be plantings in front of it. And there are requirements for how much growth is expected of these plantings. I think a certain percentage of the fence has to be covered within a 3-year period. I don't think this fence is congruent with the neighborhood at all. And just a quote from Secretary of Interior Standards for Rehabilitation: "The new work shall be differentiated from the old and shall be compatible with the massing, size, scale, and architectural features to protect the historic integrity of the property and its environment," which are the surrounding homes. The applicant stated that they had a desire to build a brick and wood fence to create a comfortable rear yard setting, to secure their area from trespassers, and to screen the trash bins. We welcome their trash bins being screened, not with a 6-foot fence. If you live in downtown Raleigh, or if you have properties in downtown Raleigh, you're going to have trouble with street people. And it's especially true in that quadrant right there. We're close to the bus station. The Bresh house has had a gentleman living on the front porch at times. We've had street people on our porch at the Montgomery house. And there have been periods where we have paid $700 a week for a security service to patrol that area. And I suspect that if there's any slowdown in the street people on the property at 200 Newbern Place, it's because of some of the expenses that we have incurred. It just is what it is. You're going to have street people. We can't stop it. two examples were given for fences that they were trying to mirror or try to keep compatible with this. One was the fencing along Haywood Hall. There was a COA in 1985 that grandfathered that fence in. There have been two changes in the commission's guidelines since then. That fence does not sit on the 42-inch retaining wall. The fence surrounding the condos, there is no COA for that fence that Colette can find. If she can't find it, it doesn't exist. I've attached a letter from Myrick Howard, who was a longtime president of Preservation North Carolina, and he gave me a little history about that brick structure. And when I look at that, I don't say to myself, oh, there's a brick fence. That's a brick wall. There was some accommodation made when that land was developed to allow that wall. Across from those condos on the other side of Person Street, at that point in time in the early 80s, which is when that land was developed, that's where the bus station was. So some developer got an accommodation to allow that wall to be put there. It's the only thing we can assume. And again, that brick wall does not sit on a 42-inch high retaining wall. I've attached the letter, the email that Myrick sent us summarizing the history of that brick wall. This is a massive structure. You're talking about the top of the wood being 9 feet, 6 inches above the street level. The pillars would be 10 feet, 2 inches above the street level. Now, I'm not trying to be facetious with the next set of inserts, but number 5, we've overlaid what a sedan car would look like in front of that fence. We've also, on the second part of that, put a 6-foot man and a 5'4" woman in front of that fence. That 6-foot man has to look up 3 feet, 6 inches to see the top of that fence. And further than that, to see the top of the pillar. And because I can, I put minute bowl on there. Minute is 7 feet, 6 inches. Top of that fence is 2 feet above his head. Minute could touch the 10-foot rim of a basketball goal with his hand. Minute could touch the top of that pillar. Couldn't quite touch the top of that pillar. Totally incongruous with the neighborhood. Totally. The headrest of my car sits 9 feet from the front bumper. If we trust what their scale is on that piece facing Blunt Street, it's 7 feet from the sidewalk. So I can't see around the fence. The wall. The wall is just as much a part of that. The wall is governed just as much by your guidelines as any fence that's proposed. That wall, we know, predated the early 70s. We could see it from aerial photos. So this is not an engineered wall, not at all. So if someone, I have 8 years of formal mechanical engineering education. I have very little common sense. My wife can tell you that. But I've got enough common sense to know you can't put those pillars abutting that wall. And where those pillars are is a part of the design. To come in here and say, we'll figure that out later, that's not good enough. I dare you to find me an engineer that's willing to put those pillars there and guarantee that that wall will not be damaged. Now, I've attached a letter which excuse me. Yeah, there's no fences on any of these other 4 properties in that little quadrant there. But it does jeopardize the wall. And if you look at my attachment number 6, a couple years ago, and Colette was involved in this, these guys put plywood up on that railing, attached it to the railing, put 4 4x4 posts at one end, the east end of that house, and attached the plywood to that. In that first photo, you can see that plywood, and you can see where it is. It ran about halfway down the wall. It also turned the east corner and attached itself to those 4 4x4 pillars. And so you can see that plywood there. And if you go to the next photo in that insert 6, you see a lovely row of wisteria there. That photo showing the plywood is dated, I think, 23. That plywood was up for months. And so there's wisteria growing in sometime before 23 and 22, and you can see it there. They've cut down the wisteria. What better order would you want than something green? So they put themselves in this situation. Number 7. So we've heard a lot of conversation about how knowledgeable the owners are about commission rules. But even in the COA, they have included one of the posts that came from that fence. And I didn't have time to take another photo, but there's 3 more of those 4x4 posts that have been there for 2 years now. The next photo shows a breakage in that wall. Now, I don't know if their work did that or not. I can't prove it did. But what I do know is that that wall is fragile, and you cannot dig behind it and put those pillars there. And then the final thing is a letter from an engineer. Literature tells you you can't do this. You can't abut it. You got to set it back. And I've seen literature from 2 to 3 feet to twice the height of the wall. Harrison, the engineer, said this sucker had to be back 6 feet. He gave an option, though. You could tear the wall down and rebuild it. This needs to be rejected. Planning material would be a much better way of giving them the border that they want. It's been 20 years of just chasing people down, trying to get the place cleaned up. In my business, we have to have a culture of compliance with the regulators' rules. I don't detect a culture of compliance over there. This thing just needs to be rejected. Go back to the drawing board. Plant some plants. I'm ready for questions.
All right, thank you very much. At this time, I'll allow the applicant to respond to any of the comments, or if there are any other members of the public to speak, you can come next, but otherwise.
I mean, we'd be happy to respond. I'd be more interested in responding to the questions you have about what was offered.
Okay. If that's the case and the applicant has denied the opportunity to respond, I will, with no additional questions or presentation of relevant facts, the committee will now close the hearing and bring the matter to the table, and at which point, we can keep it open and discuss. Yeah, we'll keep it open and discuss if you'd like to come back to the podium, and then we'll close and talk. Sorry about that. Yes, please. All right, thank you.
Do you guys have any specific, I mean, there's obviously a lot there. I think just as an overall comment, I would say Tony's daughter, Erin, and I met on site for close to an hour one day. And, you know, our biggest overarching thing is to their point, we you know, the view of that backyard right now, we think is really unattractive. We don't think looks good, you know, in the neighborhood, and we are looking to improve our property. We just completely repainted and, you know, stripped down all the old paint and did that. And the next step for us is to beautify the backyard. Our attempt, candidly, with the fence or the wall or however you guys want to put it, is, I mean, it was our attempt at what we thought would be what maybe you guys would want to see. If it's not, we are definitely open to suggestions, and we share as I said before, we share the concern on the wall. I mean, you know, even if it was something even as like, okay, do we want to go to like more of a wrought iron, you know, like, I don't know that I'd use iron, you know, with the weather, but, you know, like a really nice high-end black aluminum, you know, rather than wood or something. We are open to suggestions. I mean, our main thing is we just wanted to build a fence, that yes, we would very much want to landscape it a lot on the inside and have trees and you know, and make that a really nice environment there. So we're here. We're open to whatever suggestions anyone has. When I met with Erin on site, we went around about it. I mean, the feedback I ultimately got was just that she preferred that there not be a fence at all, and that is kind of where, at least for us, the conversation became difficult because we feel like it's an important part of what we're trying to do back there. But for the most part, we're open to suggestions. If we're not here to put up a wall, if pardon the pun, and say, you know, this is what we want to do. So I don't know if you guys have any other questions for me on any of the commentary. And a lot of it I can't speak to. I mean, we hired Craig, you know, the architect. Who we did get a structural engineer to look at this. I know Craig has said we would be more than willing to have a structural engineer sign off on it, and you know, down the road. The only thing I will say is, given the level of concern on it, I've got a little bit of concern that wall. Like, if something just happened to it on its own, I don't want to be in a position where all of a sudden it's my fault that, okay, the wall got, you know, went down because of our fence. And like I said, right now I think we're looking at estimates around $85,000 for just this structure, regardless of what we would do landscaping on the inside. So I don't want to lose it, you know. So I mean, it's important for us that it's, you know, has structural integrity as well. That's and not to tell you could go and then go. That's sort of in my through line of thinking through this and looking at this. It's a little bit unusual because I haven't seen a case where we specifically speak to work done by an applicant needing to speak to the structural integrity of it in terms of a neighboring property. It's a little bit unusual as from an architectural perspective. Of course, if you do damage to that wall on your neighbor's property, you will be liable for repairing it in whatever way. It doesn't really have anything to do with our commission or our charge, as far as I know. I actually a little bit find the potential condition a little unusual that we would try to monitor it, since it's liability that doesn't belong to the RHDC in the first place. I understand the concern over it, and I support concern over it, but I think that no matter what, you as an owner who is doing work on the site and are getting a contractor are engaging in all of those processes that are attaching liability to your work in terms of it and your neighbors, feels like it's covering it. What our concern is how the guidelines around our commission impact this work. And that's my feeling on it. I'm wondering how the rest of the commission feels.
Chair Woodard, I think the applicant, you do have a structural engineer with you. You know, I would appreciate their, you know, take on, you know, protection of this adjacent wall, and then maybe, there's been some additional evidence provided by the witness. If you don't mind addressing that, I would love your opinion.
Yeah, so Andrew Warnke, licensed professional engineer in North Carolina for over 20 years. You mentioned an engineer saying this was not done. I'm seeing a report for an engineer that hasn't visited the site. Is that true? That's true. Okay, so we don't have a formal report from an engineer indicating that the wall could not handle a fence load. My opinion is. No.
Lauren, it's important that the witnesses direct their questions
Yes, I was going to say
to the commission.
we can't allow interaction between the two of you. If you have,
So
we'll
your
have to
opinion
have
is,
you
yes,
speak,
so
and
the-
then if you'd like to respond.
So the wall would be engineered, the pilasters would be engineered to not provide any additional surcharge onto the wall. So theoretically, you could build the fence, you could build the piers, the wall could fall over, and the fence would still be there. So the wall is not going to hold up the fence. Fence isn't going to hold up the wall.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Say something about that if I could. When you've got a 20, 30, 40 mile an hour wind blowing against a 6-foot wall, forces are going to be transmitted down those pillars, and if they're abutting the wall, you're going to have forces against the wall. Right?
I appreciate the testimony. We do have to allow the expert witness to be the testimony that rides for us. We can take it as opinion testimony since you're not a structural engineer, but otherwise we have to defer to the evidence that will hold more weight is coming from an expert witness.
Yeah,
I believe.
so the wall and the fence would be a combination of the setback from the wall and the depth where the footings are, so that additional forces from wind load or seismic would be handled, again, separate from the wall, would not impart loads on the wall.
And I don't believe there's, and I don't know that we would have expected it. I don't think there's a foundation detail in your application, or
No, I think as Mr. Dean mentioned this more, we thought it was more of a
yeah. Yes, understood. But are there ways, in your professional opinion, that you could plan accordingly, and and you can't ensure or promise anything, but at least take precaution?
Absolutely, we would lower the footings. We would set them down lower so that, again, you get out of this failure plane behind a wall. Think of if a wall fell, the wall's just going to, some of the soil is going to fall down right at kind of an angle, right? We would sort of be out of that active plane.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
so again, it would not put load on the wall.
Understood. Thank you. While I have just the floor, I just wanted to ask staff again about, and I'm sorry to do this, about, I think part of the testimony we're hearing, how it's so controversial, has to do with side yard versus rear yard. And is it correct that the portions of this proposed fence that are closer to Blunt Street, so I'm thinking the west side of the property, where it's closer to Blunt Street than a sidewall of the primary structure, that would be considered in the side yard, or is it still considered rear yard there? Do we know?
If it is forward of the Blunt Street side wall of the house, I would say yes, you could consider that the side yard.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, ultimately, you could also consider that a front yard, since it is a frontage as well, but that is.
And this is an unusual property.
It is.
In that there is a rear of the house, but it's viewable from Blunt, East Morgan, Person Street. And if, we've got a letter here from an engineer, and if you want, technical estimate from engineers, then these guys don't have one, and I don't have one, but I can submit one just like they can. But again, this is not an engineered wall, and we've already seen how brittle it is.
Chair Woodard,
Yes.
if I may, I think we're seeing some of the testimony veer into cross-examination. Both parties, if you will, in quotes, are represented by counsel. There is an opportunity for cross-examination if that is desired. You're asking questions, the committee's asking questions, you're testing the evidence, but there's nothing preventing one party or the other from asking you to proceed with the cross-examination.
Just so I'm clear in terms of that, that would be essentially proceeding with more questions from us.
It would be questions by counsel to one party or the other to the witness
I see.
of the other party.
I see. If that seems like it would be helpful for moving this forward, I am also eager for us to speak.
Unless you know for sure that that if you approve this fence, unless you know for sure that you're not putting that wall in jeopardy, then you're running counter to your own guidelines. That wall is part of that HOD.
Lauren, I think Pat's advice was for you to determine as a committee whether you need that cross-examination to make a determination of congruity on the request.
I appreciate that.
If you need that information in the record to further clarify anything.
Do we feel like we need that? I don't.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. So I think we'll proceed without a cross-examination. And based on that, I would like to close the evidentiary hearing and bring the matter to the table for our discussion. Like I said before, I find this to be a little bit of a strange scenario because of the unusual structural component of it that is, we have no way of controlling that within our guidelines. We have no, charge to, other than, the charge we have as good citizens to rule based on how it might impact this wall. I think we can all see that it's a situation where it very well could be that this wall falls over in terms of this construction. In that scenario, the owner at fault would be liable to build the wall back in a structural way. That would happen whether or not we approved this. I am reticent to put any language in the potential conditions that ties us to that condition. I would rather we speak only in terms of how our guidelines can relate to this fence that they're proposing and how we can make it congruous with our guidelines. I appreciate the testimony. I really do understand the impact that this is going to make, and I do want this to have a good outcome. And I'm trying to find a way that we can be the most helpful without also setting a precedent for us trying to control things we can't control on a site in a project.
I agree with that. John, I've seen you a couple of times thinking you were...
I was looking at the side yard thing that you were kind of talking about earlier, and I was looking at the projection of the bin area is kind of the sticking point there, I think. I mean, if I'm looking at it correctly, and Colette maybe confirm, but again, the side wall of the house, or it could be a front-facing wall, I guess, like you said, depending on how you interpret it. If it's in line with that side wall or behind that side wall, it's a rear yard, correct? So we have a 6-foot fence in a rear yard is congruence with our guidelines, if I'm understanding them correctly. Everybody's kind of nodding at me like, yeah, that's correct. Okay. So, I mean, that was kind of my concern, I guess, is that the bin area is outside of an area that would need to be 42 inches or and 65% opaque or whatever in order to meet our guidelines. I think the other areas, in my view, seem to meet our guidelines as far as I can tell. I don't know if the wall obviously is a unique situation, but I don't know that we've run into that in other places or not, but it's technically not on the property that's being evaluated. Right.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. I mean, I think, and I do think the part that protrudes, you know, the bin storage area and the gates that are west of the side wall of the primary structure. I mean, I think the remedy there would either be to keep their proposed height, set them inside that edge of the house so they are truly a rear yard condition, or lower the height of them to comply with the side yard requirements. And I think the applicant does have a couple of options they could consider there. I mean, I do hear a lot of concerns. Even zooming way in on the plan on the application, it does look like the proposed fencing is within the boundary of the property. So I think we need to think about it in those terms. I mean, that's how the fence would be measured, is from its own property, and not from, you know, the neighbor's property at the base of the existing retaining wall.
Great.
Melissa, anything? You good? Okay. I think the way would personally love, since the actual condition on site is a solidity of 3 and some feet with 42 inches of solidity on that rear, and then a continued would be a I think a move towards congruity to bring the lattice work over, even though we are talking about per their property line. And I agree with you, Rob. I do think that's the technical definition of what we're looking at here. I think that it would be congruous and nice to have that also be taken into account as a 6-foot opacity on the rear. But I do agree that it's currently technically congruous.
Even on the Blunt Street facing side,
Because
That's not the right picture.
yeah, could we go one slide?
this one, just where the bins are.
Yeah. How that projects past the sidewall of the building.
I see just where the bins are. Oh, thank you for thanks for the diagram, Rob. Yep, agreed. Okay, I'm on board. I do think that would be a good sort of slam dunk way to get it even more.
Yeah.
One more. That's what I was talking. I mean, you can see the
Yeah.
plan view or whatever of it. Yeah, right there.
Yeah, I agree.
Would we like to ask the applicant back up to see which option they prefer?
I would love that. We'll reopen the evidentiary hearing and ask the applicant back. Thank you.
I think I caught most of that.
Whoever was most comfortable.
Sure.
relaying that.
So you've been hearing our testimony. I think the question is about that we're concerned with related to congruity is, you know, applicability of side yard versus rear yard. And so if we're looking at this plan view on the left side, which is, you know, as you know, is closer to Blunt Street.
Where the bins are, correct?
Correct. And I mean, honestly, the gate, you know, by a foot or two is outside that side wall of the primary structure. I realize it's part of the covered porch, but it is a side wall of it. And so the portions to the left of the covered porch, you know, I think they could either be reduced for congruity, they could be reduced to 42 inches max height, or all of that could just shift to the right and become a rear yard condition. So the bin storage and the gate just shift over. It would probably, I mean, honestly, it would.
So in other words, like just square everything up to the back of the house.
So that it's a
Exterior bin area would go away.
yeah. Well,
Or just be
Or
subsumed in the
reduced
rest.
to 42 inches? Is that?
yeah, I think those are the two options because it's currently in what is technically a side yard.
If I may, I do believe, so this is, SNP is,
Yeah.
inset.
Yep.
There is, I do believe that the wall is proposed to be in line with the furthest most wall of the house. There is a
Okay.
There is a jog.
Okay,
Oh, I
I
see.
understand.
Beyond the covered porch.
Okay. Okay. So essentially,
I can't remember actually.
yeah, we can see it on a view in your application. I think in that case, it would be either the bin area slides to the right so that its left post is where the right column is now. So the bin area becomes inside your rear yard, and it would maintain the 6 foot height, or keep the configuration just as you have it, but the portions of the bin enclosure are the 42-inch height to comply with the side yard requirements. So
Could the doors that enter the bin area, like what I'm kind of almost thinking is, to the extent we're largely trying to just enclose the trash cans there, could we lower the exterior area down to a 42-inch height, but then keep the doors that go into the bins from the rear yard? Could that still be at the current height?
yeah, as long as it didn't protrude towards Blunt Street beyond the primary structure, which it looks like it would not do that. I think that would still be congruous, is my take on it.
And if we did that, I think what I'd be kind of inclined to do is shrink it a little bit, so it's not out as far, which has been, I think, some of the concern. And then I may, because of it's going to become more diminutive, I may not look to accentuate it with the columns anymore if it was just more of a wood, feature at that point. Or guys, to some degree, do we just eliminate it and just build a rear fence?
We'll let you all decide that. We'll get to what the decision is. I'm forecasting there's probably a slight revision to it, but we're trying to hear all concerns and work within the guidelines that we're required to review it against. So, our goal is to help you get there to where it's approvable. So, definitely not trying to dictate what you have to do today. I'm not sure that we would be able to make a bunch of these conditions.
Doesn't seem like something to be able to wrap up
But
easily.
we're putting out ideas that hopefully make sense.
Can I ask a question that's kind of almost in a completely different
Sure.
direction to some degree? Because just hearing some of the concerns, like if we were to go with like an aluminum, really a high-end black aluminum, like wrought iron type look in between, like I think, remember the gates around, next to the columns of the brick? Is that an acceptable type of material as an alternative, which would obviously be completely opaque, but for... Now, I don't know what the landscaping approval is like. If we went with something like that, like what I'd be really inclined to do is do like I'm sure y'all are familiar with like a podocarpus, tree that, they can be trimmed very thin, right? And we would probably just plant those like on our side of the fence. And is that an alternative?
It might be, but we would need to see, relevant evidence.
It's kind of rebooting the whole process, right?
So.
I was just trying. I'm just trying to think of alternatives.
Yeah, and I don't want you to hear us saying despite there's been a lot of dialogue, but we're not trying to say start over. You're welcome to do that if you want to revisit it.
But we need to resubmit.
We're not saying I don't want it to come across that we're giving you that direction.
No. Okay.
I just think the part that's concerned.
It sounds like what I'm hearing from you guys is that this bin area is like the part that's least congruent with the...
Just based on its height,
Yep.
really.
Eliminating that would solve that?
Per congruity, yes.
I believe
If that was one option we might want to consider?
Yeah.
I think.
I will add or offer that if you were to plant some sort of screening plant it would still be subject to the same guidelines as the fence.
Right,
So
okay.
it would
So
still need to
it
be
would still
shorter
be-
than
okay.
42 inches and
Right.
less than 65%
I
of
didn't know what level of feedback I could get from the team here. So.
Right. So, I mean,
I think to the extent we've put a lot of time and energy in this, and it is an expensive structure. And so part of me has, like, as some of the resistance has come, it's like, well, I mean, is there another scenario we should be looking at that might even save money? But I think to the extent we've spent so much time on it, it's actually been part of a kind of design concept that's been in our ecosphere now for about 20 years. I think if you guys will ultimately approve with it, I think we would just go ahead and move forward with it to the extent we had gotten that far. But certainly appreciate any design changes or things that call into compliance that you guys require. So,
Lauren, if you find it appropriate, neighbors would like to have an opportunity to respond to the suggestion as well. It is up to you.
Sure, please come to the podium and make sure we're speaking to the mic.
So we had a few concerns. We obviously had the congruity concern. We had the concern with the retaining wall. The other concern that I think Tony definitely mentioned but got skipped over a little bit is the safety concern. I mean, you've got a sidewalk with runners and walkers. You've got bikers. You've got cars coming down the street. There was an earlier picture. There's already a tree kind of in the sight line there, like in between the sidewalk and the street. And now you've got a 10-foot fence coming out also into the sight line. So in addition to the congruity and retaining wall, we see, some safety concerns. And getting rid of that bin area, even though we still have our other concerns, I think that would at least somewhat alleviate the safety concern.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Sure.
Define congruency for me.
Great question. I think, let's see, it should be in our guidelines, right, at the front.
Pat, do you want to take this one?
Or Pat could take it.
Yeah, I'm sure your council will appreciate this. There's a decision, right? There's a court decision. The Supreme Court of North Carolina issued a decision on a property here in Raleigh. And I know enough not to try and paraphrase it or to simplify it. But the gist of it is, and we can spend time pulling that out if you would like, the gist of it is that the commission is not to prevent construction that would be congruous with the physical character of the area. Now that's dangerous, right? Because I said I wouldn't paraphrase, but that is the general parameter.
So
it's a subjective standard.
So you tend to think that this 6-foot fence on top of a 3.5-foot retaining wall is congruent with its surroundings.
So if I may, the commission will answer that in the decision that they make.
Correct. And I think that, we're in discussion about it,
Let me ask it a different way. There's congruency with the measurements and details that you have, but there's a congruency with the HOD, with whatever else is in that HOD. So I assume that you will consider that.
Yes.
I'll just leave it at that.
We will. Thank you. And with that, I will close the evidentiary hearing and bring it back to the table for any final discussion. It sounds like the applicant is amenable to a revision. I did want to ask about our shot clock since this is the third hearing on this case. Are we pushing up against anything on that?
Yes.
Okay.
You would require the applicant's consent to continue if that is what you desired.
Okay. So since we are running up against time for this case, we would need, as Claude says, the applicant's, you're the official applicant, correct? Or you are. We would need your consent to continue for us to be able to decide whether we could defer it.
yeah, so I'm not exactly sure what that means. Does that mean continue for a later decision?
Yes.
In like a different evening or like a month from now? Or
It would be at least a month from now.
a month. Okay.
in the,
So that is up to you. And I guess, Craig, if the April meeting is scheduled for April 23rd, our deadline for receipt of materials is technically tomorrow. We could give you the weekend. I know that that is a nearly impossible turnaround. So the meeting following that is May 28th. And our deadline for that would be May 30 or April 30th.
So it sounds like you guys are going to, I think you're suggesting, and we probably should go back to the drawing board a little bit on the protruding bin section, correct? So it sounds like to get approved, do we need to redesign that area anyway to resubmit? It sounds like that's kind of part of the process anyway, right?
I think there's a few options here. The committee has previously asked if you would be amenable to amending the design based on the potential conditions they're considering for approval.
The answer to that is yes.
So you have that answer. If you all feel you need to defer the case to receive additional evidence or new information toward congruity that you don't already have, that would be a case for deferral. Or if you need a significant design change and you don't feel that can be conditioned in an approval, that's another opportunity for you to take that full review and not place any gray areas in a staff level, conditions checkoff. And Pat, I don't know if you have anything additional to add.
I think that covers the waterfront.
thank you. And just so I've got it totally clear, you're amenable to a potential condition of removal of the trash bin extension on your fence.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I was thinking about it a couple. I mean, obviously, the easy solution, it sounds like, would be to just eliminate it and
that would be the
just
easy way to get
continue
through
the wall,
today.
and then we could probably maybe, and then maybe we come back later one day with something that we could submit that maybe covers the bins separately, or we could go redesign the bin area in a way that is congruent with what you guys seem to be indicating, the 42-inch height and. Or is it kind of a recommendation of the committee to just eliminate it, and that would make?
It's up to you which path you want to go down. If you want to defer to because you'd rather have an updated design, or
I think the fence is the most important part for us. Is just
okay.
So we would be amenable to eliminating the bins, and then we would have the wall condition there, and I think we would stay. I think we would stay with the lattice design on that section of the wall.
Okay. I think that would wrap up a good amendment. Okay, thank you so much. Reclose and open us back up here. I think with a updated condition, I feel like we have the potential for a motion. Did anyone write a nice little condition?
Yeah,
Is that what you're doing
started
wrong?
one, but
Okay.
I was just going to run it by you guys. I guess we could give them 3 conditions. 1, remove anything that is outside of that wall on Blunt Street. The second condition be that anything on that Blunt Street side be in line with 1.4.11 at the staff's discretion. I mean, that meets all I don't know if that's okay with other people up here, but that was one other condition that I was going to add in as an option. Like he was mentioning, he might want to go 42 inches on just the receptacle bin and meet these requirements. He could, in theory, do that.
Yeah. I think we would want to give conditions that sort of wrapped up the case and didn't leave optionality.
All right.
And since they are willing to remove the bin area, that I think that resolves the other conditions.
And then there's still the condition with the details and specifications following be provided and approved by staff prior to installation and construction as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
So-
I'm curious whether we want to keep the potential condition 1 about monitoring construction activities for continued structural stability.
So I will chime in here. I think I generally agree with your assessment kind of at the top of the table talk here that retaining wall is not on our site. It's not really in our purview to monitor it or do or not do anything with it at all. I will offer that in the guidelines under demolition, there is a line about protecting adjacent significant structures and trees. And so this is not a demolition, although maybe you could argue some of the ground of the rear yard will be demolished adjacent to this retaining wall. And so that still leaves me with, there doesn't need to be a condition for it because it already is a guideline. You know, it's, I think there's two ways around it, right? It already is a guideline. They have to adhere to it. And so if they don't, they're liable for all sorts of stuff. Obviously, the loss of this retaining wall would not be good. I think the other way to think about it is to, I leave the language in there. I guess I haven't seen any evidence. In fact, maybe I've even seen counter evidence of its structural stability as it stands now. And so its continued structural stability is sort of maybe too vague. Maybe we should alter it to speak to the current condition of the wall and that it, you know, it's sort of a, it feels like a little bit of a boondoggle.
Pat, I would love to hear what you think of this one, because I do think that just, you know, as an architect, I'm sitting here going, ensuring structural stability through, it's just, it's tying us to, I'm wondering if putting that in also just ties us to any liability we don't want on our side.
If I could make reference to the staff report and the way it's drafted in the staff report first. The way it's drafted in the staff report is that the existing retaining wall be appropriately monitored during construction activities to ensure its continued structural stability. I would ask that the applicant, if that's suitable, right, and if it's something desirable, I'll put it that way, it may be a good idea to ask the applicant, will you volunteer that condition, right? And then as far as enforcement, this does give the city an opportunity to look over, to see how it's going. And if there's a problem out there to enforce, perhaps under other provisions, code provisions, but also under the certificate of appropriateness. So I think that condition is workable and defensible.
Okay, thank you. And I believe this condition was offered by the applicant, correct?
Not in these precise words.
Okay.
But they, in previous
Amenability
communications
has
did say-
been, okay.
Yeah.
We've already confirmed amenability on it then. Okay. Sounds great. All right, so I think with that. Sure. To reopen our evidentiary hearing.
Again, we're also interested in the continued structural integrity of that whole system. Will this have to get a permit? So when we permit it, will the engineered component of that not be part of the permitting process to get approval?
There are
to build it?
many ways that you will be tied to
Right. So-
liability for this.
So at the end of the day, you know, we'll have to get stamped. I mean, you'll end up signing, you know, off on. So I mean, I would think that would be that part of it, but so in other words, what we're saying is, I think what you guys are concerned about and what everybody's concerned about, we are on board with, but we think it would be handled through the normal permitting process and obviously adhering to that during the construction. Sorry.
I agree with you. You're fine. Thank you. All right, we'll reclose the evidentiary hearing. With that, I would like to make a motion Let me get our case number right. All right. I move that based on the evidence presented within the application and staff report, as well as the testimony provided during the evidentiary hearing, that we move to approve the application with the following conditions. Of course, I'm not the one that has them all pulled up. 1 second. One, that the existing retaining wall be appropriately monitored during construction activities to ensure its continued structural stability. 2, that details and specifications for following be provided to and approved by staff prior to installation or construction. A, brick details including installation pattern and color for driveway. B, brick details including color for fence. And C, fence finish for wood components, as well as potential condition, 3, that any fencing material beyond the side wall portion of the structure is eliminated. Good enough? All right. I make the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, motion passes unanimously. With that, the COA's decision will be adopted with the minutes of this meeting and at next month's COA, which is April 23rd. Thank you very much. All right.
Thank you, everyone.
No problem. All right. It's been an hour and a half. Do we need a break or do we want to move on?
Thank you.
Should we go? Okay. Sure. All right. At this time, we will begin COA case 0022 2026. Is that correct? Nope, sorry. 0154 2025, 528 North Person Street. At this time, I will invite staff for their presentation.
All right, as you just said, this is case 154, 2025 for 528 North Person Street. It is in the Oakwood Historic District, and as you can see from the view here, it is a corner property at North Person and Pell. You may recall that you previously heard this case in January, I think. The request is to construct a 2-story accessory structure, alter driveway, construct a 12 by 12 rear pergola, covered patio with outdoor kitchen, install a 6-foot fence that has been altered, install a brick and metal fence, and alter side yard landscaping. This is a view of the property from North Person Street and a view from the intersection at Pell. Going down Pell Street here to the rear yard and existing fence condition. Again, a better view of that rear yard. This is from the northeast property corner. Looking into the rear yard, the current house is here. And again, a view of the existing rear yard. Abbreviated summary of staff concerns, built area to open space, height. However, the updated materials have addressed some of your comments regarding height, tree removal without replacement, patios with defined borders or picture frame style, and materials and details that are typically provided as conditions.
Thank you. I'll call on the applicant for their presentation. If you'll state your name and address in relationship to the case, and I can swear you in. Sure, if you're going to provide testimony, yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Alexander Jeffries, 123 North Bloodworth Street.
And are you the owner?
I am.
Okay. We'll do you both. Go ahead and say your name.
Bajana Etten Design, and I'm at 331 West Main Street, Durham.
Okay, thank you very much. In relationship to the case?
Architect.
I remember. Thank you very much. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you both. All right, please proceed.
Well, good evening, everyone. In January, you all provided some great feedback for this submittal. We kind of took it back to the drawing boards, and we hope we addressed as many of those concerns and feedback as possible. What I'd like to do is just kind of quickly go over kind of the high-level changes that we've made to the submittal. First and foremost, we've made the height of the accessory dwelling unit smaller by, I believe, 3 to 4 feet. We have adjusted the windows to 1/1. We've provided several more examples of accessory dwelling units in historic Oakwood, some of which are 2 stories, some of which are 1 story. And we have proposed a living wall along Pell Street, which we feel like will really help define the backyard and accessory structure to address some of the concerns both from this body as well as from the neighbors of it appearing like a second house. I think as I went back and kind of looked at our notes, I was reminded that the city of Raleigh has really made a concerted effort to push accessory dwelling units throughout downtown Raleigh. So much so that they have created a fast track program where there are, I believe, 8 or 10 pre-approved ADU plans that can be purchased that are already reviewed and approved by the city of Raleigh. Of course, this does not ensure that they are compliant with COA requirements, but that is kind of how this project started. We took those plans and we've tried to make them as historically appropriate as possible. We have made the plans that the city of Raleigh deem as an accessory dwelling unit smaller. We've utilized a lot of the historic surroundings and examples throughout the historic district of Oakwood. And we've really tried to listen to the feedback both from neighbors and you all to get this in compliance, not just with historic preservation requirements, but also with the size and scale as it relates to the surrounding properties. So in addition, we provided quite a few new renderings and 3D diagrams showing different angles. Most importantly, I think, out of those pictures is that the green property that you see here, which is 522 North Person Street, and if you turned around and looked at the blue property across the street from Pell Street, which is a law firm, both of those structures are really towering over not only the proposed accessory dwelling unit, but also the smaller houses if you go down Pell Street. And if you'll remember from the January discussion, the topography of Pell Street is not working in our favor because it slopes down considerably. So while the ADU is smaller than the Pell Street house next door, because of the topography, it looks almost the same size, even though it's several feet shorter. I think one other point that I'll make is that the city of Raleigh has really clearly defined what is an accessory dwelling unit through their program that was launched a few years ago. I don't feel that the historic standards have quite caught up to what an accessory dwelling unit should or shouldn't be. I think it would make all of our lives easier if there were more clear and concise standards for not just accessory structures, but accessory dwelling structures. We know there's examples of accessory dwelling structures throughout historic districts, but oftentimes they're on top of a garage, which in my opinion is not very historically accurate in itself, because when many of these homes that were built in the late 1800s or early 1900s didn't have garages. I am passionate about historic preservation. I serve as a board member on the Society for the Preservation of Historic Oakwood, and this has been a great exercise for me in getting to know some of the neighbors better. I live just down the block from this property, and the goal of this ADU is for my family to live there and live with less and smaller and be more walkable and bikeable. And while I know that's kind of outside the purview of this group, I think it's important to note that accessory dwelling units are an important aspect of the growth and development of the city. So thank you all.
I just wanted to add a few short things. We did also, taking into consideration all your comments and making it look less like another house on the property, we did also decrease the front porch and made it just basically a little covering over the front door. and that's more for weather protection. It's just a nicer way to service whoever is going to be occupying the space. Also, just another note on some comments that were made about the driveway. We are just increasing it by about 4 feet from existing driveway because there is an encroachment on the side of the existing house onto the driveway with the deck. And this allows us to put 2 cars into the driveway, which is actually going to help with the parking on Pell Street. We could probably move in a 3rd vehicle depending on the size. So this is just some of the comments I wanted to add to the client's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any members of the public who'd like to speak on this case? All right, hearing none, I will open up the for any questions from the commission for you. Okay. Any questions? All right, hearing no questions from the commission, I can close the evidentiary hearing and we will bring it to the table.
We struggled with this one a lot, but I think they've done an admirable job of making adjustments and making it feel like a secondary structure. It's like, I feel like it has a nice balance of being secondary to its primary structure. From my site visit, I agree with the applicant that some adjacent properties are, like the one on this image here, are significantly taller, and that's the address street. So, that does play a role, but also balances a good scale along Pell Street without seeming taller than the primary structures on Pell Street. So I think they've done a good job. I guess my only question for for colleagues up here is, they did add the low brick wall and fence, which, in the renderings, it helps ground this as sort of like a rear yard structure. I do think it helps in that way. I was curious of you all's opinion, because especially as it goes down Pell Street. I mean, I appreciate that it does not step. It looks, architecturally, it looks very nice, but it would be probably a bit tall, and we could ask them what that dimension is, kind of at the east end of the property, of the brick wall. I didn't know if you all had any concerns about that.
There's the elevation, if I'm reading this correctly, says that it's 8 inches at the top of the street and then maxes out at 3 feet at the kind of bottom of the property. So we're looking at 5 feet of fence wall, plus whatever shrubbery they have installed there or plan to be installed there.
Yeah. So
I guess, in sort of keeping with our last case,
the theme of the day.
It is a side yard. My web page just crashed, so I don't know if it plan-wise is in line with the far face of the main structure. It looks like it appears to be, or at least, well, no, the deck of the main structure. Maybe it is.
It appears to be.
And so, I think I say all that to say it seems more or less congruous to me. The wall, the fence, and the bushes on top at the far end of the property will be fairly tall, but I think it's okay. It's a rear yard condition.
Anyone else before I go? I agree. I think I do really appreciate the updates that were made. I think especially the presence of the front of this structure or the side facing the street have really improved the feeling of it being differential on its site. I appreciate the sidewall offering that as well. I do think there's still, I'd be, I think, a little bit outside of my own feeling if I didn't say that having the door of it facing the little opening in the wall doesn't sort of speak to it kind of being primary, but I feel like it was a good move in the right direction. And I do feel like as we move towards making our guidelines, take ADUs into account, I think that we'll be looking more into what that means. And this is probably a step in a similar direction. So I do think that feels good. And I think that the highest point of your wall is Congress with us. So I think that feels good to me. Anybody else?
I see two walls on the, when it's like on the wall type details, there's a Teco block wall and there's a brick wall. Is that?
Yes, there is a retaining wall located along the driveway in
Okay, so on
between the proposed ADU and
Okay.
the driveway edge.
Okay.
We ready to make a motion?
Anybody want to make a motion?
I would like to make a motion to approve COA-0154-2025 based on these stated conditions. One, that the detailed drawings and/or specifications for the following be provided to and approved by staff prior to installation or construction. A, paint samples. B, landscape planting details, including mature height. C, final material details and dimensions for outdoor kitchen and grill. And D, exterior lighting specifications, if any.
Seconded.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Congratulations. Your case is approved, and you will have the committee's written decision adopted with the minutes of this meeting at next month's COA, April 23rd. You'll also receive written notice following the adoption. Thank you very much. All right, I'm going to keep offering a break because we've been here a while. 5-minute break, and then we'll get our next case. Thank you very much. Troopers. 1. This meeting's now back in order. For COA case number 0022 2026 1022 Dorothea Drive, Pat, I believe we have a potential recusal. We need to vote on that now, correct?
You do, yes.
Okay.
I would like to recuse myself for conflict of interest.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll make a motion that to approve the recusal of Commissioner Todd from this case. Can I get a second?
Seconded.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, you're approved for recusal. Thank you. All right, with that, I'd like to call on staff for their presentation, if they're prepared.
All right. We have case COA 22-2026. This is for 1022 Dorothea Drive in the Boylan Heights Historic District. The request is to remove a rear addition, remove rear window, construct a new rear addition, install a rear patio, and alter exterior paint colors. This is a view of the existing structure from Dorothea and some contextual views down each side of the property. East facade, moving toward the rear yard. You can see the existing ADU. I had noted in the staff report no changes are proposed here. There's one exterior change to add a mini split system on the rear of the building, which you'll see in some new information the applicant has provided. The rear facade and ADU details. And looking back toward the property from the adjacent alley. Summary of staff concerns is that the tree protection plan provided was not prepared by a certified expert, ISA certified arborist or landscape architect, which is typically a requirement, and some other typical conditions materials cited here. The applicant is here to speak. If needed, we'll pull up the application materials now, or just let me know and I can pull that up for you.
Okay. I'll invite the applicant for their presentation.
Oh. It is not combined in.
Before you begin, would you please state your name for the record, address, and relationship to the case?
Yes, Michael Birch with Longleaf Law Partners, 4509 Creedmoor Road, Suite 302, Raleigh 27612.
All right. Are you an attorney?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
then I'll swear you in. Go ahead.
Perfect. Again, thank you for the staff presentation. Again, attorney for the owner. We have Brian Davis, architect here, as well as John Kerr, GC, and Lynn Sears on behalf of the ownership group, all here for questions. I'm just going to turn it on over to Brian Davis to make a few comments. And again, we are all here for questions. I will say, I believe what's being passed around right now does include the tree protection plan that is appropriately signed, sealed by an arborist. So, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Any members of the public here to speak on this case? Okay, seeing none. I should have done questions from the commission. Are there any questions from the commission on this case?
I saw the potential conditions about the siding replacement. I didn't hear that brought up in what you said earlier. Am I on the right case? You mentioned the mini split, but the conditions related to the siding replacement, did you say that and I didn't hear it? Or?
I did not reference that in the staff presentation.
Okay.
Do you have a question?
Oh, no, I guess not. I don't know. I guess I'm used to hearing it and I didn't, so that's all.
It's a condition we've added in case when the project gets, oftentimes when we're starting, the project team doesn't necessarily know how much repair replace is going to be necessary. So we typically have advised if more than 50% of a particular side of the building is ultimately needing to be replaced, to go ahead and codify that with COA approval. So that there's documentation of the deterioration and the need.
Pardon me, I believe we cut off before the applicant could actually give their presentation. Apologies for that. Please proceed with your presentation.
I need to be sworn in.
Oh, yes, thank you, sorry. I'm all off kilter now. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Certainly.
Thank you so much. Could you also state your name, address, and relationship to the project, both of you, please? Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Brian Davis. I'm not an architect. I'm designer, principal at Todd and Davis.
That's important, thank you.
Yeah. I live at 1028 West South Street.
I'm John Carr, owner of JBK Construction at 725B Pershing Road, Raleigh, 27608.
Thanks so much. Go ahead with your presentation.
I don't really have much to say, just that we're here to answer questions and otherwise refer to the documents you were provided here.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right. With that and no public comment, are there any further questions for the applicant from the commission?
I think I know the answer to this, but the orange lines on this drawing are the fencing protecting the trees. Is that correct? Thank you.
All right. Any further questions?
I think I think it's a great, it's a great proposal. It's a great house, and they're improving it, and I think everything seems congruous with the proposal, or almost everything.
Okay.
I should never say everything.
Okay. All right. With no further questions, I'll close the evidentiary hearing and bring the matter to the table, and we can discuss further how congruous this is. I agree. I think it's a great application, and I think it's a wonderful little house, and it's going to have a nice little addition on it. I really didn't have anything that I was super concerned about.
I appreciate that, the addition steps in and doesn't touch. It's got a great roof line and doesn't engage it in any way. So I have no concerns with the addition. And then it just seems like the ADU is a little bit of an odd building, but it's nice that it was already a residence, and I think the proposed improvements will make it, last for another many decades, if not century. So that's great.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Yeah, I think that all the moves that we would want to see for an addition like this are very sensitive and are a good example for anyone else looking to put an addition like this. So I think like if we're feeling good about it, we can make a motion. All right. I move that based on the evidence presented within the application and the staff report, as well as the testimony provided during the evidentiary hearing, that we approve the application with the following conditions. As usual, I don't have them open. Here we go. We will strike, no, it wasn't a condition, was it? 1, upon the beginning of the project, if a historic preservation professional experience in wood window and siding rehabilitation determines a historic window sash or more than 50% of the historic siding on any single facade requires replacement, a new major work COA application shall be submitted for review and decision prior to removal. 2, the following materials and specifications be submitted to and approved by staff prior to the installation or construction. A, additional downspout locations. B, HVAC equipment specification location and screening details if changing. C, exterior lighting specifications if any. And D, physical paint samples and schedule. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say.
We do have downspout locations shown in the new information.
I will therefore strike Part A of potential condition 2, additional downspout locations, and keep the rest. Is that sufficient? All right. A second?
Second it again.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Congratulations. Thank you so much. Written decision will be adopted with the minutes of this meeting at next month's COA, April 23rd, and you'll be notified following the adoption of the decision. Thanks so much. All right. Moving right along. So I believe this is our final case, COA 00. Oh, we need to bring Commissioner Todd back. If someone wants to let her know, she can return.
I'll get us switched back over also.
Yeah, I'm just excited to go.
You can sense the end.
Powering through. I feel like we're on a roll. Welcome back, Commissioner Todd.
Okay, last one
Okay.
of the night.
All right, this is COA 0024, 2026, 909 Oberlin Road. I'd like to recognize staff for their presentation.
As you stated, this is case 24, 2026, 909 Oberlin Road in the Oberlin Village Historic District. These are seeking amendments to a previously approved new construction case. So the request is to alter the rear screen porch design, install rear porch shutters, or actually lattice was the determination made for the application, so as not to offer alternatives. Construct rear door and steps, remove rear brick steps, alter rear pathways, and install a rear rain garden. The property is currently under construction, so this is that new primary structure on the site as viewed from Oberlin Road. Work is still ongoing here. This is a view of the north side of the property. Moving toward the rear yard. Garage on the right, primary structure on the left. And a view from the rear property line looking back toward Oberlin Road. And you can see here the rear porch and yard with the proposed alterations. And a view of the rear yard, as well as the topography and relationship there to the structures. Another view of the south facade. Summary of staff concerns were evidence is not provided to support the extent of the proposed porch lattice screening, railing installation to the inside of the screening, and the proposed south fence line configuration. Site topography alterations for the rain garden are unclear, and the required tree protection plan from the new construction application is not currently implemented. And the applicants are here to answer any questions.
All right, I'd like to invite the applicant up to the podium.
Just feel free to scroll with the wheel here for any photos you want to reference along the way.
Hello, will you both be providing testimony? All right, so if you'll both give me your name, address, and relationship to the case, and we'll swear you in at the same time.
I'm Diane Becker of Becker Law Offices, 6030 Creedmoor Road here in Raleigh, and I'm the attorney for Copper Builders LLC. Mr. Anderson will be presenting on their behalf.
Okay.
My name's Alex Anderson. We operate at 3749 Benson Drive in Raleigh, and I'm the president of Copper Builders.
All right, very good. Would you mind raising your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? All right, thanks so much. You may proceed.
Well, and Chair, if I could, do you mind if I just
sure.
have a word just before they
Absolutely.
get started?
Go
Because
for
it might influence your presentation and response. We've seen your project a few times, so we're glad to see it again. Always good to see familiar faces and projects. When I was doing my site visit, I couldn't help but notice that one key detail, the trim around the windows, or lack thereof, deviated fairly significantly from the approved COA, COA 135, 2024. And so I didn't want to make the assumption that the project or the primary structure is complete, but I wasn't sure if it also looks far enough along that maybe that's not going to be added. So just wanted to mention that to my colleagues here. And at least allow you to respond to it at some point in your presentation. I know that's not included in this, the current application, but for what it's worth, just wanted to point that out. So thank you. Take it away.
No problem. Really, again, this is my first presentation to the Historical Board, but I've been building in Raleigh for over 8.5 years for Southern Concepts. I ran that company as well as with Greg Paul Builders, so very familiar with building and remodeling in the historic districts, as it's something that we've done. I'm very new to Copper Builders and being their president, so I'm inheriting a lot of this myself. But want to make sure that we obviously abide by the committee's rules, abide by code rules, and certainly anything that the Historical Board offers we take under serious consideration. So appreciate y'all's time. Ultimately, we have 3 real pieces in this outside of the window pieces that you just mentioned, which I was not aware of, so I will look into that. The 2 main ones is the screening on the porch as well as the fencing. And then I believe there's some conversation around the rain garden. So I think to expedite this at some level, the rain garden is not our choice. It is through the stormwater approval process required it in the original application. So that was ahead of the historical review where they required a ponding rain garden for this lot. And so it is designed to Raleigh standards to have this with only a 6-inch deep ponding, and then obviously meeting all the other Raleigh UDO requirements for the stormwater. And I have that information if you guys want it. Second, on the fencing, obviously you've heard a lot about fencing. I learned a lot about fencing tonight. With the fencing being predominantly on the side and rears, we are proposing a 6-foot fence down the left side of the home, across the rear, and then along the right-hand side as well. The fence will, on the right-hand side from the street view, will end at the rear of the home. And on the left side, the proposal is to bring it to the front of our home, where it will dead end and not project past the porch or into the porch section. There is also a fence that's going across the road to provide 2 things. One, safety in case a family has children. Oberlin is a very busy road, and we are wanting to offer safety and privacy for the new owner, whomever that might be. As per the lattice / shutters, I believe it was originally put in as lattice. Our intent in this is, again, to provide more screening or privacy for the porch itself. The houses to the south of us are a little smaller, so we are raised up a little bit from them, and just want to provide some privacy when the potential homeowner is on their porch from the old preserved homes that are next to us. The original intent was some lattice work, which I saw tonight as evidenced in other properties. But ultimately, I think we are more leaning towards a shutter pick, because we felt it was more congruent with historical understanding of the area. We did find other examples of obviously 6-foot fencing, wood fencing throughout, and I believe there's 1 or 2 other shutter examples or lattice examples that we have for appropriateness directly across the street on Oberlin Village Drive and Glover Lane. There's a 6-foot wooden fence that is similar to what we are going to be constructing directly across the street, and there is a proposed design, I believe, in this that has a certificate of appropriateness at 2307 Van Dyke Avenue that is showing a similar sort of lattice work that we are proposing to, or I would say modern shutter look that is similar. And I have those examples here if you guys would like to look at those. As far as the concern on the rainwater garden, I did bring the original mass grading plan, which is showing the original elevations prior to any construction, and we have not deterred away from that outside of what we're going to have to build in the piece, which I will come back a little bit to show you. So the intent is that rain garden exists between the main structure and the home. Originally, we designed this without a knowledge that we had to have a rain garden, hence these steps are coming down and would have been a transition to the garage with a 15-foot long rain garden that we're going to need to satisfy the stormwater requirements from Raleigh. We basically determined that those sets of steps are not necessary now and would really encroach upon the rain garden. And so we're proposing to pull that rain garden back and in a little farther away from the garage and create a new set of steps off of that porch to essentially demo what we've built and run a new set of steps down adjacent to the home and creating almost a courtyard of the two steps coming down to a singular union and taking a singular union back to the driveway for a mode of walking towards the garage so that we will not cross the rain garden or further, deter the water ponding and sedimentation that will occur. The proposal also is adding a way to get off of the porch onto that same pad that we just discussed, and so creating out the rear screen door and screening that is necessary with wrought iron rail coming down the steps, but not necessarily interfering with the views that would be out the back to their property. I'm trying to see what else I brought. Lastly, I guess, let me see what other pictures we have. I apologize for the tree protection. That is certainly on my radar and did not realize that was not in place at the time of the application. I believe some of our subcontractors have removed it, at which point we are in the process right now of putting that back up immediately. So I expect to have that up either tomorrow or Monday at the latest. As far as the precedents, I've seen, I just saw actually a picture of a side home that was on a road and had lattice on the side of the porch as a security and or screening measure. So I don't necessarily think this falls into that same realm with it being inside a home and inside the lot. Obviously the front is crucially and faces a street, but the left and right sides are within the lot and will be facing other homes in the future. So open to any suggestions, comments, concerns you may have and how we might mitigate that.
Could I just clarify, Emily with your team had previously sent us some revised documents.
Yep.
Do you have 8 printed copies of that as well for the committee?
I do. Okay. Are you looking for the, I have the standard detail of this.
Anything that wasn't in the original application posted to the agenda, the committee won't have seen until now.
Gotcha.
We could pull up a digital version if we need to, but
No,
I
that's
just want to make sure they know what the revised and new information is.
Yeah, and I believe there was a comment on the side posts as well, which are, I think, in, that's what's in review, and then that was what was approved versus what we are looking to from the location of the race at the rear, and then this is showing the steps with the new driveway, this is showing the walkway across. This was approved in old, this is the new. Okay.
This is what you're proposing.
Correct.
That's in the existing application.
Correct. That should be.
And is the studio?
I believe so, or this might be what's in review.
The shutters.
Correct.
And just one copy of this?
That's all I've got. I've actually, I'm not sure. She printed it out. So yes, it's in And then I did print off just the standard detail from Raleigh of the impervious surface piece, if anybody wanted to reference that, which should be in our submittals as well. Do you have one more copy of that, or did I give you mine too? So apologize about that. The porch, if you see on this drawing, is showing the actual shutter detail versus lattice work. I think there was some concern about the screening being on the outside or inside of the actual rail system. This is going to serve as the rail system. And obviously we can have the shutters operable if that is a desire of the committee. Obviously, they aren't creating a fall hazard off of the porch because we are above 30 inches. Back on the plan side, you can see where we are terminating the fence on the left side to be equal with the end of the house or behind the front of the house, not the porch, but the actual house itself. And then on the rear, we're adjusting the steps per the condition of not needing the big set of steps access straight to the garage, which would interfere with the stormwater's requirement of a rock garden. So essentially trying to bring the steps down and get over to the garage quicker to allow the rock garden and the landscaping we're going to do around that to reach maturity.
Is that the end of your testimony? Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Any members of the public here to speak on this case? Brian? Seeing none, we'll have questions from the commission. Any questions for the applicant?
Yeah, a couple. So with this new, or new to us anyway, shutter design,
Yep.
there will not be a screen on this porch now.
There will be a screen.
And so, there will be a screen.
Yes, sir.
And so,
The set of steps coming out the rear, there's a screen door, and then we are going to have to add some intermediate posts across the rear. Before it was...
I guess I meant where the shutters are, there won't be a screen behind those.
Insect screen?
Right.
Correct.
Okay. Sorry, yeah, and like a bug screen.
Yes.
Okay. What's my other question?
Yes, there will be one, or correct, there will not be one.
Correct. There will be screen behind the shutters.
Okay, that's what I was
But
interpreting.
It's on the inside.
Yeah, got it.
Yes.
Okay. So the screen is there, but it's behind the shutter.
Okay, so there's a rail, there's a shutter, and then behind that there's a screen.
Yeah, we're going to have to screen it off unless the shutters are inoperable. If it's inoperable and we make it essentially a wall and using the shutters as a softening tool from the aesthetic side, then it will not need screen. It will be screened on the rear, which would be the only side that would be open air.
Okay. And I guess if the shutters are operable...
I was just saying that is an option if that is something that is of concern.
Okay.
And if they are operable, then the screen would be either automatic or would be something that would be able to lower and raise within the column section. Each of the columns.
Okay. My other question is about the stairs in the rear.
Yep.
You're essentially moving one set of stairs to the other kind of side of the house, if you will.
Sure.
Is that impacting your impervious area at all?
No, it's actually reducing it.
Okay.
We are increasing the impervious, I think, a hair, but only because we had to add the driveway, or the man door that's coming out of the garage now has to connect to the driveway versus it being a stone path on the backside of the rock garden.
Okay.
But we are still within the allowable limits.
And so I was a little confused at your description, your verbal description of the fence But I think the plan here kind of clears it up. There isn't any fence in front of the back of the house. Does that make sense?
It goes down both sides and will connect in the rear.
But I guess perpendicular to the house, it's all touching the back of the house.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. Where it comes in outside of the line that would run up the driveway side just to the front of the home. Correct.
Got it.
So that you would be fully fenced in at the rear of the home to the rear of the property. Yes, sir.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Apologies if I missed it. I got sidetracked thinking on a different thing I'm going to ask in a minute. But can you speak more to the decision between the application that was submitted and now to move away from the latticing towards the shutter style? I will say you have evidence for lattice work in the district on historic homes, and the evidence we have for the shutters is a rendering of a proposed residence. So I will say I'm just curious what you were thinking.
Sure. I think it was purely an aesthetic piece, that the cross lattice wasn't as visually beneficial to the home's architecture as would be a shutter.
Got it. I think my only other questions are really for staff, if you'll allow me. And it's more in terms of the sort of generational story of this project and how it's gone down in terms of the application, because I got a little bit confused, and pardon me if that's just me. 909 Oberlin Road was a demolition approval of a contributing structure, which is described in the application. Let me get it pulled up. The property description is referring to the structure that was demolished, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
I meant to amend that. No,
You're fine. I was just wanted to clarify it because I was like, this isn't a 40s house, is it?
No.
I don't believe so. I remember this. Okay, cool. Wanted to just make sure that was cleared up. This is a new build structure that we're looking at that also had an approved application that created the stair condition in the back that we now see. I just wanted to make sure that.
Yes, if you really look at the proposed drawings that were approved, there was no topographical information provided.
Right, and it didn't refer to the whole site plan
The drawings show like 2 steps as opposed to 8. I'm not sure how many they are not appearing as substantial as they do on site now.
I see.
Right.
Okay.
And that's part of the reasoning behind it, obviously with the rain garden, and they're pretty impressive in the size and mass that they are currently.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to make sure that we were all clear on how we got to this point as we're moving forward with decisions. Thank you.
Thanks for the detailed description. I think helped hearing your explanation about the rain garden and know that stormwater requirements can be difficult. As it is pretty remarkable when I did the site visit just to see how much the site drops off there. It's a lot of slope, but it'll be a private backyard, so that's good too. So I guess just a few things I think we'd probably be looking for evidence of, and the staff report mentioned it. So there's a segment of the fence, if you're facing the front of your property to the left, that extends forward. And, staff noted that's atypical for the district. So I didn't know if you would be willing to either reduce that portion, or if you wanted to go find evidence for it. I think we would accept either.
Yes, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I got about 12 properties where we found fences that were somewhat similar.
Okay.
And I can certainly provide those to you.
Sure. Okay. And do you know, one thing, and your attorney will know this because it's come up on other questions. Oberlin is a unique district because of the shape of it. It's not a perfect square or circular neighborhood. So I'm not sure if you know which ones of what we would be asking about. I mean, this is helpful. Obviously, it's going to take us some time to look at it, and it's obviously easier when it's presented with the visual evidence for it. But just because they're nearby, I guess the point I'm getting to is in this neighborhood, just because they're nearby, they may or may not be in the district.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
I'm not sure if are you confident that these are?
I'm confident that they went through where the actual lot lines are within the district and found ones that exist within the district.
Great. Okay.
I think that just the proposal of addresses is not enough to provide evidence.
Sure.
I think we would need to see actual visual evidence of congruity for those fences.
Is the issue the part of the fence that extends past the gate to the front in its congruency?
Yeah, it is because it approaches so close to the front of the house, and and is the gate? Is it like a motorized gate or is it just a swing gate on like a barn hardware?
We're going to do a motorized gate that will have a wood finish.
And if staff could advance the slides a little bit so that we can see, or if you, thank you very much. Maybe from one of the driveway views, maybe one more, if you don't mind, because it kind of goes one more. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get, that view there. Yep. I mean, for my colleagues here, I would even accept the rear yard fence going towards the front a little bit so that it's beyond the rear porch. I don't think it just needs to end into the house. I think it's just that one segment that protrudes all the way to. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and we would love to move the gate forward as long as we had enough room to open it and allow a car to get out and in without interfering in the roadway or the driveway.
And I can't say that all my colleagues will agree with that, but I'm trying to find a way to work with you on that. And then it sounds like you're willing to make immediate addressing of the staff comment about the tree protection plan. Is that
Absolutely.
right? Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. I don't have other questions right now.
Any other questions from the committee? All right. I think hearing none, we'll close the evidentiary case and bring the matter to the table for discussion. All right.
My primary objection, sort of, yes, that would be a sub item to agree to. I mainly have question of the freestanding portion that's not engaged with anything and just creates like a privacy screen very close to the street because this house is pretty close to the street. And then when you're on site, the reason why I meant potentially allowing them to move the gate forward is just if you see it from this view, it seems like whether it's screen or lattice, that the porch part is like a rear yard feature. So I feel like it would make sense for that to be I think it would be reasonable to address that as part of, allowance to move the gate forward. I think it would still feel like it's in the rear yard. It would be the nature of it. And we'll need, hold on just a second if you don't mind. Do we want to reopen it?
Sure, thank you. I'll reopen the evidentiary hearing. Thank you.
Apologize. We were just trying to, again, align with the rules.
Understood, yeah.
At the back. But yes, that would we would be open to running it at the end of the porch where you just suggested, and not have that extension past that.
Okay.
If that's more.
Okay, thank you. I'll close the evidentiary hearing again, bring the matter back to the table. Sounds like the applicant is amenable to a condition that would make this fence largely a rear yard fence, making the 6-foot height of it congruous, I think. Better feeling?
That sounds like that's where we're going. I just want to point out that I don't think that as it is currently shown, it is incongruous. I don't think that the staff report, it's a little, I'm kind of reading two things here. Yeah, I mean, there's a line in the congruity analysis about 6-foot tall fences being visually opaque are congruous in the district when located in side and rear yards. And so, to my eye, although this does appear to be a freestanding section of fence, it is in the side yard. And I don't think that freestanding per se is a disqualifier for it being 6 feet tall or visually opaque or in the side yard. And so while I agree that it might compositionally be more comfortable because the fence it is close to the street, the house is close to the street. I remember that in the original application, sort of how close it is to the street and the size of it. I appreciate the offer. Unfortunately, I do feel like I have to point out that I don't think that it's currently incongruous. Nothing in the staff report or what I see in the materials presented tell me that it's incongruous. Now, I haven't looked at the list of the properties, the evidence provided.
I think the issue of congruity was the configuration of the fence extending past the gate line. And what is commonly seen in this historic overlay district is if there's a fence, especially a 6-foot privacy fence, it's terminated at a gate or at the side of a house or a structure and doesn't just extend freestanding. And that's where the issue of congruity lies.
Okay. I think it's resolved. It seems like we solved it. I almost didn't even want to bring it up, but
thanks to Commissioner Todd for explaining what I was trying to say.
The clarification.
I think I do have some clarification now on it.
And I have less concern of the tree protection and the rain garden. I obviously, it was not acknowledged, but in their presentation, they didn't have to because this is what they're presenting. I do have concerns about part of the prior application.
Sure.
Being, I would say, significantly deviated from what was reviewed and approved.
But ultimately, that enforcement is kind of above us.
No, it's not.
No, it's in a condition right now.
Yeah, we can condition it on that approval of this, requires that to be completed before.
Yeah,
issuance.
potential condition.
But I would like to give the applicant a chance to respond. They may be just going to do it.
Right.
I would also like to bring up the shutters screening. I do think that it was actually more congruous previously. And we had, I will say we had more evidence for it is what it was. And if we're provided evidence that demonstrates this kind of condition in the district, then I feel like we can move forward, but I don't feel like I have enough evidence of structures having this particular condition. But if the applicant were amenable to bringing back the lattice work, I feel like I feel like I have evidence supporting that.
Yeah, that one's kind of sticky too, because on the one hand, it probably will be pretty difficult to find evidence of this exact condition in the district. However, this body approved a nearly identical installation on a separate COA.
This is a COA?
Correct.
Okay.
In this district.
Gotcha.
And so, there probably isn't going to be evidence, unless this other COA project is complete, of a similar type of structure, if that makes sense.
That's my miss. I wasn't clear that was actually an approved COA. It wasn't an upcoming project.
It was, but it is it's a non-contributing structure.
It is
so,
non-contributing.
I mean, so it's up to us to decide again whether.
Presumably, as is this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I do think the precedent gives us is an understanding that there is the option to make a judgment on congruity.
Right. I think
we could ask for more evidence for
Sure.
the shutter, because I agree that the lattice, the applicant did provide very clear evidence. It maybe is, they're planning to use quite a bit more of it than the examples show, but it's at least precedent from contributing structures.
Right. It's sort of a mishap of timing or something that we got to see the full lattice presented with evidence before we ever got to see the shutter, which is what they, I guess, actually now want to do, because the lattice, as you say, does feel like there's more evidence of it, arguably is more congruous. However, I will just, maybe not even however, I will simply add that, I was here for this one. The details are maybe a little bit fuzzy, but it's kind of a similar condition. It's like a side yard, rear porch screening element. I think in many ways it is quite similar to what we have an approved COA application. So I think for me that clears the bar for congruity, but I'm with you in that I believe that perhaps the lattice was more congruous, if such a thing exists.
Before you make any decisions contingent on Van Dyke, I think that you should hold for, I don't believe that panel was included in the final drawings that got included for approval. I think it was part of the original proposal, but I believe that was eliminated as part of that process.
Oh, interesting.
I was trying to find the final drawings, but
I'm also digging frantically, having not seen this to be able to evaluate it yet. I'll also add the lattice example that was previously provided. In terms of your charge as a committee, it's congruity with the special character of the district, which is contributing evidence. And there is a fact included in the staff report that as of prior to district designation in 2016, which is the only evidence that we have beyond the existing photo, that lattice was not in place. And we don't have a COA to request its installation. So it's not to say that you don't find on new construction that screening a rear porch with a particular material would ultimately be congruous, just that you haven't really been supplied with contributing evidence to support.
And 700 Tower is a new construction, right? That was one of the lattice examples.
Yes, one was non-contributing structure.
Yeah.
One was a contributing structure, but with no record of approval.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for that. Probably then in either case, we would want to have more evidence.
Yeah.
Of contributing structures with this kind of screening detail, it sounds like. So but can I bring the applicant up to reopen the hearing? I do have a question for you.
Absolutely.
Hearing our conversation, do you have any strong feelings about which style you would like to see moved forward in this application?
Honestly, that was the
And which
least
you'd like to
important
support?
of
Okay.
everything that we were meeting about today. So the fence is crucial to us. The steps are pretty crucial, and the rock garden obviously has to go in from the stormwater. So those were really the main points. With the rock garden having to go in, we had to change the layout of the steps and the walkway. So if that's, the shutters or the lattice or whatever design we choose there is less important. I can put a rail, I can screen it, and I can hang curtains. So from a privacy aspect, if I have to go that route, I'm perfectly fine with that.
Okay.
If you want to, obviously up to you guys, conditionally approve the lattice and allow me the time to see if I can find the evidence for other shutters, I'm happy to do that before we do anything. Or we can kill that part of it for now and go back to the original approved plan.
And just for my clarification, originally, what was there?
Just a rail and screen.
Okay.
Between the posts.
Okay.
You have a couple options in this case. We could move forward. It sounds like for the rest of your application, we're pretty close to being able to make a decision. For this, I think we would either want to have a revision that has more evidence for either style, really. It's up to you which one you feel like you could be able to support and come back with. Or if it's the same difference to you, I believe you could remove the screening from the application and it could move forward that way. Is that correct? Staff?
Yes.
Okay. If it's neither way to you and you don't want to defer, you'd rather have a decision today, I think we could come to a decision without the screening, correct? Feeling good?
Is it possible to defer one part and still get approval of the other?
I'm
It
afraid
is not. So you,
Yes, pull the lattice and shutters off and let's get a ruling on everything.
You could always come back later for it.
That's fine.
And we could do it later. Yep. Yeah, it might be a minor work, who knows? All right, so I'll close the evidentiary hearing and bring it back to our table. With that, it sounds like the applicant is amenable to removal of the rear porch screening as a condition. With that,
So condition 2 would stay as
Yes.
is, basically.
sorry, lattice work. I'll be
Got
specific
it.
about it
Got
when
it.
I say.
so I think what just occurred on the record through your questions and agreement, and Pat, confirm if I'm right or wrong, please, that the applicant has just amended their application officially to remove that component.
Yes.
So you can, there's
condition
not a
related.
condition needed for it because it's not a part of the request. now.
Perfect. That sounds great. That cleans that up.
And do we want to add, or I guess all outstanding conditions or 4A kind of covers your concerns,
Yeah.
Rob? Is that?
I believe so.
Okay.
Let's see. Tree protection plan.
Well, let me double check if there's a condition tied to that
Okay.
component. And if not, you can just add a condition that, actually, Pat, I think, might be able to provide draft language on a condition to that effect. But let me double check if there's an open condition first. That would be cleanest.
I don't believe there was a condition. It was just shown consistently with like a craftsman style casing around every window.
Yeah, I don't know why there would be a condition if it
was just
were
part
already
of-
offered.
It was part of the design.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be all outstanding conditions. Maybe it's completion of the COA.
I mean, I would be willing to just point it out specifically, that detail as like an add to that item 3A.
Okay.
I'm typing something up.
Okay.
if you all, when we're ready to go, I can.
All right. Yeah, I can go slowly and make the motion. Sounds great. All right.
Actually, window trim details is a condition.
Okay.
Whether it has already been provided, it's condition 6B of COA 135-2024. Now I'm going to check if we have it yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I did go onto the city's portal and pull down the approved drawings, and condition or not, the drawings that are on the portal show trim around all the windows.
Yeah, it looks like we were given the specifications for that. So at this point, a condition that essentially requires photographic proof that the trim has been installed per the previously approved application is probably the way to be able to confirm.
Does that mean I would get to strike 4A in replacement of that? Or are there others that we need done as well?
There are other outstanding conditions.
Okay, I'll keep it then. All right, so I'll take a whack at it. I move that based on the evidence presented within the application and the staff report, as well as the testimony provided during the evidentiary hearing, that we move to approve the application with the following conditions. 1, that tree protection plan submitted and approved as part of COA 0135-2024 be implemented immediately. 2, that the rear porch screening remain the previously approved fiberglass mesh screening panels and that the screening material be installed on the interior of the railing. 3, that the south side fence line not extend forward of the adjacent gate location. 4, that the following materials and specifications be submitted to and approved by staff prior to the issuance of the blue placard. I'll make a new A, that the trim work previously approved in the previous COA provide photographic evidence of completion. B, all outstanding conditions of COA 0135-2024. C, tree protection plan implementation photos. D, scaled existing and proposed grading plan and site section drawings. E, revised proposed site plan. F, revised scaled elevation drawings. G, revised scale rear porch column railing screening section. Well, we can get rid of screening, I believe. Oh, no, we still need screening. Section detail drawing. G, rear porch column and screen door material specifications. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, congratulations. Thank you so much.
Just for clarity from my part, does that mean that right now the fence has to stay at the rear of the home, or were we okay of pulling that forward to the edge of the?
It will stop at the gate as designed. Yep.
As the condition is intended to be interpreted, wherever the gate is where the fence stops.
Yeah. Terminate the gate. Written decision will be adopted with the minutes of this meeting at next month's COA, April 23rd. The applicant and other parties will receive written notice following the adoption of the decision. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have any other business? All right. With that, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, team.
Not a business item.